Oh my God. Oh my God, I was wrong all the time. I was wrong. Did you hear what the Trump side is saying? We need to be afraid of the Democrats. Oh, I was so wrong, wasn't I? What is it you need to be afraid of from the Democrats? That when somebody comes to our country, that they will properly apply for asylum and not have their children ripped from their arms and their children put into cages and into facilities and end up with them lost in the system where the children can be molested, abused, and adopted out to somebody else because they can't find that child's parents because they were not given the right to apply for asylum and they were sent back to their own country with a lie and then possibly even murdered. You're all out there going, we can't have all these Mexicans come over here and end up applying for asylum and becoming citizens. But we're losing their kid in the system and they're getting adopted by some white people and become American citizens anyway. So what's the difference? Eh? Do you see the difference? I sure don't. Except for one is adults and the other one is. And let's see if people coming from the southern border, which they're not Mexicans. Okay? Let's get it realistic there. The majority of people coming from the southern border right now are from places like Argentina and Brazil and other places like that. They're not Mexicans. So let's stop this racial stereotyping. But if they didn't feel afraid to apply for asylum, they wouldn't find any way they can to sneak across the border. Because they would know that they can come to America, have a fair hearing on asylum, and win the potential for asylum so that their children can be here. Okay? So that their children can have better schooling, so that their children can have the ability to be able to be raised not in an MS-13 gang. But you got to make sure that they've got those opportunities. If you're going to lock the kids out of your schooling system, you're just going to turn them to MS-13. That's what happened before. MS-13 did not originally start over in Argentina or Mexico or Brazil or any of those other countries. They started here when they came here seeking asylum. And the schools refused to take the teenage boys into the school system. So these kids were left alone down in Los Angeles where there's plenty of American gangs. And the only thing that they could do was join a gang. Because that's all they had to survive. And then many of them went back to Argentina, took that gang mentality with them, and guess what? Another American transplanted atrocity happens once again. And we blame it on Argentina. Argentina, granted, has their own problem with their own mafia. But they're not sending their mafia over here. Their mafia, for the most part, are tormenting their own people. They're not tormenting ours. For the most part, they could probably give a shit less about us. So, really? So there you are, afraid of the Mexicans that aren't even Mexicans. That that aren't only brown skin. There's white Mexicans, black Mexicans, and brown skin Mexicans. Basically, their system over there does not distinguish between white, black, and brown. They distinguish between rich and poor. Okay? I'll give you, yeah, one set. Now, you're going to talk about COVID. You're going to talk about how Trump did such a good job on that. I would agree with you if, when Trump shut down the border from China, that he made sure the 40,000 people he still allowed to come back to America, he made absolutely sure before they stepped off any plane, boat, car, truck, train, whatever it is they got here in, that they were tested for COVID. And if need be, there was a place for them to be quarantined. And COVID wouldn't have been let loose in America. I would believe you if, when he heard about the problem, he also shut the border to Europe, instead of waiting until a whole bunch of European people came here and infected all the people in New York. So, really, okay? So he did a great job. And I would agree with you if Bush had just as much trouble with SARS, which came from China, but he didn't. I would agree with you if Obama had just as much trouble with Ebola, which came from Africa, but we didn't. And I would agree with you if Trump hadn't muttered the three most dangerous words in human history concerning a pandemic. It's a hoax. Allowing the majority of the Republican population to totally and thoroughly ignore the dangers of this virus and freely spread it. I would agree with you if Trump would have had a nationwide response to this virus. I would agree with you if Trump would have made sure that the thousands and thousands of ventilators and PPE, the hundreds of thousands of ventilators and PPE, even more than that was in the stockpile when he took office, that he did not add even one single thing to. If he would have taken that and handed it out to where it was needed. But he didn't. Because he was more interested in selling the lie that the cupboards were bare. Go back and look at the history and the record of the cupboards. They were not bare. They were long far from bare. Trump was more interested in political talking points and how he looked with his campaign than he was interested in protecting the human lives, protecting the people of this nation. You know, when Ebola hit, Biden was more concerned with protecting the people of this nation. He didn't give a crap what he looked like. He gave a crap how many people would be infected and die from it. Okay? So if you want to listen to the Republicans' fear-mongering, that's your choice. And you need to stop your neat little box bull crap. Let's start out with the fact that racial injustice, racial crimes, and all this racial bullshit has upticked during Trump's administration. Yeah, he's going to blame it on the Democrat. But he's the one who's been in office for the last 4 years, not the Democrats. Okay? He's going to blame COVID-19 on the Democrats. He's the one in office, not the Democrats. Okay? There is so many things he's going to blame on the Democrats. When more or less the Republicans are the ones that have the power in the Senate and who end up stopping a lot of what's needed to be done, even when it's voted on bipartisanly in the House. Mitch McConnell and all the rest of them. They're no better than Trump. They follow him like a freaking puppy dog. They're more interested in their power and their wealth. That does not mean that there isn't any Democrats out there that would act the same way if we had a Democratic president who acted like Trump. But at the moment, we don't. And even the Democrats pushed against Obama when they thought Obama was wrong. You think Obama's first try to get the Affordable Care Act passed went smoothly? No, it didn't. But the Democrats were able to come together, hammer out the differences, and within that short 2-year period of time that they had power, they got it passed for the people. What has the Republicans tried hard to get passed for the people in the last 12 years? Instead of blocking what they could so that it didn't look good for the Democrats or to stop the black Democratic president. Most of the good that Trump is sitting there toting are stuff that Obama did. Let's just put it this way. Obama took Bush's recession jobless rate of 10% and brought it down to 4%. Trump couldn't even manage a full 1%. And for 2 years of his first term, he was doing it on Obama's jobs bill. He didn't pass a bill until 2 years after he was put in office. And then on top of that, the bill he did pass slowed down the progress that was going on under Obama. So he's so great, isn't he? Look at what he's done to the farmers with the tariffs. Oh, it's fine because the big farmers are doing great. Now, how many mom and pops have closed down because of Trump? And what confounds me is some of those mom and pops in places like Iowa here who have struggled because of what Trump has done, who have lost family members because of COVID, who have had to shut down or sell off parts of their farm because of the tariffs. they're still going to vote for Trump. Really? That to me is one of the most stupidest things I could think of. I mean, if somebody came in my house and threw a match on my couch and started burning my house down, I sure in the hells am not going to go and vote for him afterwards. And Trump has put a match to the small farmers. And you're still going to vote for him. He burnt you right out of your farm. And you're still after Trump, 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 Trump. Repeating his bigoted, racist bullshit. Black Lives Matter. Okay, yes, Black Lives Matter. And I will repeat that. Because that's affirming the right for a black person to have the exact same rights as a white person. Now, is there some people out there in the Black Lives Matter movement that are bad? Yes. But it's just the same as there is a group out there called the KKK, and not every white person belongs to it. There's a Christian organization that was called James Jones, and not every Christian belonged to it. You want to judge Black Lives Matter by the few instead of by the many. And has there been some of those nice little white supremacists and KKK members out there who went online and was typing down, and the FBI knows about this, typing down, yeah, we're Antifa, and we all should get together and go down to them rallies and start some trouble. Yeah, they did that. They did that. So now y'all out here hollering, Antifa, Antifa, without even knowing what Antifa means. Antifa, anti-fascist. What is fascist? To be a fascist is you are a person that uses government or your power to take control and to take away the rights of other people. That is fascist. Any soldier or military person who fought in World War I, World War II, against Hitler, in Vietnam, in Korea, in ISIS, against any of them, they are all anti-fascists because they fought against fascist regimes. So get it right. Get it straight. Now, will some bad actors out there, because of people making the Antifa a spooky thing out there, will some idiots out there like the white supremacists take advantage of that and use that as cover to be able to do bad? You damn right they will. Damn right. Any group out there, if they see an opening to take advantage of something to advance their own agenda, will take advantage of it, no matter who it hurts. Whether it be Christian, Muslim, anarchists, white supremacists, KKK, Black Lives Matter, Islamic, Jewish, what else other thing we got out there? There are groups out there that are gonna take advantage of those movements to advance their own agenda. That does not mean the movement in itself is inherently bad. That means there are some bad actors. Now, as far as KKK goes, the majority of those people are bad actors. You gotta face it. Bunch of freaking bigoted white people standing up hollering how black people shouldn't have any rights whatsoever and should be removed from America because America is their land. Forgetting the fact that Native Americans were here first, and when you tell them that, oh, we came and rescued the Native Americans. Forgetting the fact that the very first drive-bys in American histories were a bunch of white bigoted fucking cowboys in their wagons circling some innocent tribe's freaking encampment and shooting every man, woman, and child, bashing the children's heads against the rocks and shoving bayonets through their body, so that when a Native American mother gave birth to a child, she had to hold that child's nose and mouth to teach that child to keep quiet, so that if a raid did happen, their child could be kept quiet while the mother and the child hid in a dug-out area within their teepee so that baby's head wouldn't be bashed. Yeah, that's the history of white America. Now are all Native Americans the great savior of the land? The angels of the earth? Hell no! They started out, yes, they had slavery. If that tribe over there came over here, attacked my tribe over here, and that tribe over there killed one of my children, I had the tribal right to go over there, snatch one of their children, bring them over here, make them a slave until they learned and followed the laws of the tribe, and then that person had the right to become a full member of that tribe with all the same rights and privileges as a member of that tribe. Okay? There you go. There you go. But then white men came over here and taught them the profit in slavery. So Native Americans were enslaving Native Americans, were enslaving black people, and had white indentured slaves. Basically, they were indentured workers. They had a debt to pay off, so they were to work as long as that debt was. And if the person they were working it off with said that they didn't clear the debt, they could keep them indefinitely. That's just the way it was. Did the same thing to women. Put them in debt, put them in as prostitutions, and say they can stop being a prostitute once they work off their debt. And they never worked off their debt. Unless they happened to be a bad prostitute. In the instant somebody was willing to come along and take her, yeah, they worked it off. Did black people enslave people? Yes, they did. There was one black person who was part of making the cotton gin who got his freedom because the slave owner he had allowed him to get profit. He then bought his wife and his children and a plantation, ran a plantation of his own, and had the largest number of slaves as any black slave owner. He had 65 slaves at any point in time during his life, and at his death, he still had 45. And he was no better than any other slave master. Did the African people take and sell people off to slave owners? Yes, they did. They would sack a tribe, And instead of killing the leaders of that tribe and those in power of that tribe, they bound them up and sold them off to white men so that they can be shipped over here to become slaves. But white men also went over there and sacked their own villages just to kidnap people and make them slaves. There. Slide to this tribe and tell them, yeah, we got your leader over here. You want him back? We got to do this secretly. Let's meet over here and you can have your loved one back. And bam, they're taken too. Because that's the way it was done back then. Shoved into a ship and on the way to America, many of them died. And not a damn white person gave a shit. Come back, their teeth were looked at as if they were some cow. Wives and husbands were split apart. Mothers and children were split apart. Because that's the way it was done. And it didn't only happen to blacks. It happened to Native Americans. It wasn't quite as rough for whites. But in the last 4 years, that racial inequalities, racial bias, and racial crimes have upticked. Take a look at the statistics. And that is not on Obama. That is squarely on Trump's last 4 years. That has nothing to do with Obama or Bush or Carter or Reagan or anybody else. That's all on Trump. Every last bit of it. Low income, middle class, they're out there busting their hump. Working for the rich so that the rich could get richer. Making their products. Getting paid minimum wage. Maybe they'll get lucky in a little bit more, but not much. And paying in the majority of the taxes to the Treasury. Trump's up there on the hill figuring out how he can hand those taxes out to the rich instead of how he can help the middle class and the poor to have a better quality of life. Because that's what he does. He looks out for himself and he looks out for his buddies. And that's basically an incidental. It's like this. If it profits him, if it makes his life better, if it happens to benefit his rich buddies, c'est la vie, all right. I'm loved at least by them. And that's all he cares about. And I've known that since I was 7 years old. When he first started appearing in the news. Hearing about the lawsuits, about discrimination, appearing about him building one place or another, appearing about how he divorced his wife, appearing about this, that, and the next thing. Since I was 7 years old. And as the years gone by, I had less and less and less use for that man. And then when The Apprentice came on, I had to see how much of that shit he was going to do. Because I knew he wasn't going to do shit with that. Yep. See him sit up there and, yeah. Most of the decisions that were made on who to keep and who to fire were not made by him. He's too damn weak for that. Always has been. His bombastic behavior makes it so that it covers your eyes to who he really is. You are so busy looking at the elephant standing up on on the barrel over there, and the clowns playing over here, and the great trapeze actors up there, that you're forgetting about looking at the little mouse over there, chewing on the rope to make the tent fall down on it all. There's that little mouse. You'll do your somersaults. You'll do your back bends. You'll stand up and do your twirl on your big old barrel. You'll hang from one foot on that wire while the air blows through your long flowing hair. And you'll talk about how wonderful your circus is until it comes crashing down on you. And it will. Everything Trump touches in the end comes down on him. He took his dad's business, and his dad was no great prize either. And he ran that in the ground. To where it came to a point in time, Trump don't really own many businesses. He owns the rights to have his name on a lot of businesses. But he don't own no businesses. Most of what he does right out own and he manages himself are having hard times to survive. He almost lost his property in Washington until Saudi Arabia comes in and swoops in and spends all that money to rescue him. If it wasn't for Saudi Arabia, he was going to sell his property in Washington. He's got property over in, I think it's Sweden. He's got a golf course over there that loses him more money than it makes him. But he's a great businessman. Yeah, we went bankrupt 6 times. I had to sell our casino. Yeah. He's not that great. He's got his circus ride going along. And you fed into it. You think he's great because you're looking at all the pretty colors and the flashing lights. When all that is window dressing. You better be watching that mouse in the corner because that's him. And he's chewing that rope awfully hard. Oh, he's going to escape when that tent comes crashing down. He's going to be sitting outside picking up all the little peanuts and popcorn. While you're in there suffocating, and he's not going to give a shit less. Because that's who Trump is. That's who he's always been. That's who he will always be. He never does anything unless it benefits him. So, yeah. All right. 33 minutes I do think is long enough for my drivel. Whether you care about it or not. But let's stop putting people in the box and let's start making it so that these people in Congress have the term limit we set for them. Get your butts up, get out there and vote. The majority of Americans are Democrats, but we do not vote properly. 25% vote in the general, 15% vote in the down ballots. 80% of Republicans vote. And we've still done lots of damage in past years. Just imagine how much more we can do. And I don't mean damage in the bad way. I mean damage in making sure that we can stop the Republicans from voting idiots like Trump into office. That's the damage I'm talking about. So think about how much more we could do. If you stop being an armchair freaking politician, bitching about politics when you're not willing to get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Get your ass up, get out there and vote. And this year, my suggestion is if you're capable to, get your absentee ballot, fill it out, and walk it in and turn it in yourself. Do not mail it in. Do not go to the voting machines. Because there is a potential that them things can be hacked. Do your voting in the most guaranteed way of making sure that you get your vote in and that it is counted. And the most guaranteed way to do that is to have a paper ballot that you write on and not some internet connected voting machine. And you take that paper ballot and you walk your little butt over to the electoral office and you hand that paper ballot in. That is the most guaranteed way for you to be able to get your vote in and get it counted. So work on it. All right? And let's make 2020 the start of a better year. Let's make 2021 the start of a better president. And let's make it so at some point in time, we can stop voting party and start voting politics. Because right now, the Republican Party sucks. Because of people like Mitch McConnell and all these other idiots out there who have been in office for far longer than 35 years and haven't gotten nothing done. So let's not just talk about how many years Biden has had in office and nothing has been done. He's done far more, as most of those people in Congress has done in the last 35 years. So think about that. Think hard about it.